connecting Cape to Cairo from the city of South Africa or from the city of Egypt, the capital of Egypt, Cairo, to Cape, which is from north to south, with a railway system was one of the vision of the Organization of African Unity when it was established in 1963, what we call today the African Union. Now, since that was established, it has been 62 years, or you can call it more than 6 decades. But have we implemented or realized that dream of the Organization of African Unity to connect the continent from Cape to Cairo is not realized even after 6 decades? Maybe neighboring countries have their own infrastructure connecting with railway or road infrastructure by bus, not even on a regional level. Forget the continental one. But I tell you what, one unintended act of the recolonization, or you may call it the neo-colonization, may do some, may bring something of an intended act, which is connecting the continent through railway. You may ask, how does the neo-colonization will connect the continent through railway system? And you may be wondering even, are they doing it this time as a reparation for the continent for all the damage that they have done during slavery and colonization? No, it's not. It's not even for free. This is called a Scramble for Africa's minerals. How is it done? By connecting African countries who do not have the port, then connecting them by railway, putting infrastructure, and directly connecting to the nearest by port so that they can ship from that country where the mineral is to the destination. Now, what is the destination? In this presentation or in this video, what I'm going to look at is that this scramble for Africa's mineral is the worst of its kind. Why? And then we will look at who are the actors who are imposing this. That's number 2. Number 3, how it is manifested, who is financing it, what are the implications for it. These are the things I'm going to look at in this presentation. Now, Scramble for Africa, if you remember, that happened in 1984. I'm answering why the worst of it. That happened in 1984, right? In Berlin, where European leaders have gathered and decided, scrambling Africa, which country goes to which one, right? And that happened in an era where we do not have digital media, where we do not have to communicate. We didn't know about it, to simply put it. We didn't know about it until their military arrives in the continent. Now, what makes this now Scramble for Africa's mineral as opposed to Scramble for Africa is that this is happening within our consciousness. We know it. We see it happening. Of course, our heads of states welcome it, sign the agreement, take the loan, sell the natural resources of the continent without bringing any benefit to the ordinary citizen of the continent. But are we ordinary citizens of the continent free from all this accountability? No, we are just standing by the side of the railway when, that our resources are shipped. We're just standing and paying farewell for it, saying bye-bye with all a smile and doing nothing. So as an ordinary citizen, it doesn't mean that we are not accountable for it. So we all are an accomplice wherever we are as an African, and more so, our heads of states takes this responsibility. Now, this railway system, the scramble for African minerals, is happening from, first of all, who are the second question is, who are the actors? The actors are all the superpowers that you can think of globally. There is the United States and Europe. This scramble for Africa's mineral is happening. The China, for example, it has with Belt and Road Initiative, known as in its acronym as BRI, in which it was introduced first in 2013 by Chinese presidents, but the idea was there a long time before. By the way, this is a generational project for Chinese governments. So even if the presidents change, they made sure that they advance that quest. After a decade, the US now come up. It's a direct response of Belt and Road Initiative of the United States, which was now for the US, it's called the Lobito Corridor. This one connects 3 countries: DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, you have Zambia, you have Angola. Now a 4th new country has been included after a year in 2024. Actually, just last month in October, Tanzania from the east has been added. The Chinese one, the Belt and Road Initiative, is actually, it includes 53 countries in Africa, almost all of countries, all member states of the African Union, in which the heads of states have signed for it. Okay. Now, these are the actors who are, doing this, and you can also add Russia or others. All superpowers that you think of are trying to have, or at least leverage, this railway system that is established by China or United States. By the way, it has together, of course, always its allies, Europe, or you can call it G7. So everyone under that, US and its allies, are trying to use or leverage this Lobito corridor to ship these mineral resources from the continent. What are the mineral resources? All you can think of. But I mean, in this era, we have, the race for energy, and you have cobalt, you have nickel, you have lithium, all the things you need to make electric vehicles, your smartphones, and the digital system, the data systems, the artificial intelligence, everything that you see digital is actually the mineral resources are taken from Africa. So these are the actors in the continent, and it's a very serious one. They are pouring from millions of dollars to billions of dollars for this project, phase by phase. In a glance of time, these superpowers are just pouring this money in the name of finance. Of course, in the pretext that they use is really laughable. Always they want to make Africa to be like they're helping, it's an aid, that as if it's not for their own benefit. I mean, this always has been the case. This is what is happening now. This unintended value, why I say it is that while they connect these countries, China, with its Belt and Road Initiative, imagine it has 53 countries. It encompasses all the continent, like 98% of it, right? And the US and its Europe, its ally, now has just started it last year, and already 4 countries are connected by it. And imagine how it will go as they go more and more digging for more natural resources. I mean, it doesn't mean that other countries do not have it. We know that Europe do not have it, but these natural resources for energy, you can find it in Peru, you can find it in Australia, you can find it in Canada, but they don't want to use their own. So they are extracting as much as possible from Africa, so that when it is finished, then they will sell you in an expensive price back to you. Actually, they are doing already because we don't have any manufacturing company. Now, the thing is that why I say that we have responsibility in this and we are not really doing what's expected from us is that because these natural resources, we don't have the technology, we don't know the know-how of it, and we don't even impose in the agreement, meaning the heads of states, these African heads of states, to agree that, to force these countries to set up a manufacturing company, to enforce them to transfer knowledge and, the know-how. And after a certain years, okay, it should be our people that should get a job in this. And, eventually also setting up more manufacturing company after we have the know-how and the technology. And they are not doing that. They are just selling it raw. The last time I made a video here, what they're doing, there are like 10 countries in Africa. Now Kenya added last time in October, which they have put in their policy saying that no natural resources, no mineral in their country will be exported without being processed. But this is where it starts on paper, and this is where it ends. Guess what? When the other party refuses to do that, meaning it could be Europe, it could be US, it could be China, whatever, wherever, then what happens is, because they want to get the money, they want to get the money, and then they leave that policy just in paper, and then they start back to square one, allowing this natural resource to leave the country. So basically, even those 10, 11 countries have it in their policy, it doesn't mean anything. No one has the guts so far to do this. Perhaps I have a little hope with the Sahel Alliance states like Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, the way how they are embarking to take back a control on their own natural resources, that might give us a hope how, perhaps they might be an example to do this, because they are kicking out this manufacturing company, and, they are setting up also a couple of them. I think Burkina Faso and Mali, their own Burkina Faso has embarked to started to build its own gold refinery company. So that is a hope, but so far it's just a talk of our heads of states and not walking the talk. Now, the Lobito corridor is from DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, then Zambia, and then Angola. From Zambia, the Chingola Railway, it goes to the Luasano Railway in Angola, and then from Angola, also Tanzania. It has like 780 kilometers all the way connecting these 4 countries. Now, the Belt and Road Initiative of China, as I said, out of the 55 of the African Union, 53 takes part in it. And you have 44 countries in sub-Saharan Africa alone. It was first introduced in 2013. Originally, China was calling it actually New Silk Road. It was later on, it was called the Belt and Road Initiative. But it's not only in Africa, it actually, the Belt and Road Initiative of China has it in 150 countries in the world. So their plan is really to connect all this, well, not for their own benefit, to bring whatever they want to bring to them. Now, how do they define this project that they are trying to bring to establish this railway system for Africa? Or it's a new one, or they are re-innovating, or they are perhaps just doing a new one. Now, the Belt and Road Initiative, look, quote, this is how it is defined. The aim is to connect Asia with Africa and Europe via land and maritime networks, with the aim of improving regional integration, increasing trade, and stimulating economic growth. The highlighted word here for me will be increasing trade. For whose benefit? That's a question mark. And but regional integration, well, that's something we will come back later. When the project comes from Africa, then we can say that. But really, China is worried for our regional integration? Not really. I mean, this is just a political statement. Now, how is the Lobito corridor defined in the words of the Foreign Secretary of the United States, Antony Blinken? Here it is, quote, the ultimate goal is infrastructure connecting the Atlantic to the Indian Ocean. I mean, short, very precise, to the purpose. And the aim is to connect Atlantic to the Indian Ocean. What, for who? It doesn't matter. It's just we say, so this is the purpose and we are doing it. That's what it's telling you, okay? And now, how this is manifested or why this is manifested. This is because the Lobito corridor, it was necessitated because that was a direct, the US is in trade war, officially in trade war in Africa. Again, Africa being the battleground, okay? And it's a race. You may call it an armed race as well. It's a race to secure these minerals, copper, lithium, cobalt, nickel, all the supplies needed for energy transition period or this era, all those things. Now, this is from Angola to Tanzania, like you have from the west to the east, okay? This is why I say maybe unintendedly, it's unintended, but it might fulfill, it's a sarcastic, it might fulfill what is planned by the organization of the Zen Organization of African Unity, Cape to Cairo. Well, I mean, if Africa can, every challenge has an opportunity, can really use this for its benefit. But how is something that they sit down and think about if they really forget about warring power and then have built something that goes generational if they are serving to the interest of their people, then they can take, they can take an advantage of this. Now, reviving, it's as I said, they are doing this in a way that they revive decades old of rail lines. Also like Zambia and DRC are also now replacing Peru. Peru have also those minerals that I named before, but now the shift is on Africa. Now, in South Africa, there is this upcoming conference, which is a Railway Association annual conference. You see here how they are so concerned because the participants, it's just a regional conference, okay, the Southern Africa. So those who are member of the SADC, the Southern African Development Community, then participates. But now it has, for the first time, international delegates that has not have taken part in previous conferences are taking part, coming and doing their side meeting with the Southern African countries and searching more ways of shipping the minerals. So by 50% it has increased the number of participants. And the United States, although this Lobito corridor was introduced in 2013, recently it has done already its first shipment from the Angola port to Baltimore in the US. Now, the US has promised through, they use our own institutions. There is this African Finance Corporation. They finance the money to that, and that African Finance Corporation is financing it. In the beginning, when they introduced it, it was $2 million. Now it's like $4 billion, and then they already have put down more than 550 millions of dollars. So it's after that this first shipment happened. Okay. Another thing that I'm going to, or the last thing I'm going to look at is that just to give you more background, the Belt and Road Initiative, if you put it in population, 150 countries is like more than 60% of the world population. Okay. And it's really interesting how intergenerational it is. Before President Xi Jinping, there were other presidents, so they always have it in their agenda, and finally it's implemented. Now, what are the implications? The implications are, they tell you this will create thousands of jobs, bring finance, bring development, this and that. But guess what? For example, the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative, what happened is that, I'm gonna look at the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative. It has, for example, 200,000 Chinese citizens working in Africa. Okay, 200,000, and in the name of what? No other African person can do this, so they have to bring their own people. And the security, the thing is that to protect these Chinese companies, they know that somehow people are awakening, and they will ask about this, because we know what happened with Kenya, and they bring their military and all those things are involved with their intelligence unit. So they bring this security system together with it in the name of protecting Chinese companies and workers to each African country that they are doing the Belt and Road Initiative. Now, our heads of states become signatory of it. I mean, they agree. There's nothing happens without their knowledge, but they're taking advantage of it now. With that intelligence gathering, what they're doing is they're attacking their opponents, anyone that's opposing them in power. So that is what it has become a trend, and actually they quickly sign for this. Now, China in East Africa alone, to connect East African countries, they have so far financed $29 billion. Okay. Now, finally, before I end this, I want to ask, because I am reading and I'm reflecting and I am asking question. Okay, how can African use this, or African interest can be protected in all this scramble for Africa's mineral race that is imposed by the superpowers in the world, the US and its allies, the US plus Europe on one hand through the Lobito corridor, and then you have China with the Belt and Road Initiative. Okay, now there are four things I want to share this article with you, and then it will give you an idea how Africa's interest can be protected. For example, okay, just wait, it's good to do it with. Now, this man, before he writes this article, he kind of researched how how Africa can protect, or can or the interest of the continent can be protected. So there are four things that the writer came up with, which is involve everyone in the process making, in the negotiation. The second one is empower the negotiators. The other one is keep the public on side, and then increase knowledge. Now, what does he mean by involve everyone? Now, the process in Chinese deal making tends to go like this. Beijing will begin by making financial pledges, often aimed at a number of countries. These are followed by meetings at state level between a Chinese delegation and the African heads of state, and then their senior officials. Infrastructure projects under discussion have often already been passed over by Western donors. So what they do is, after this Chinese delegation, after they meet the heads of state, then they go back and start to contact the public services separately, okay, without involving the government, like the heads of state and other things. So they contact them, and then what happens? Also, they start to bribe them. So these public service providers, without really, for example, let's say that it's about electricity or energy or whatever, without really comparing other service providers, although the government has agreed, they take, of course, bribes from this governments, and on the process, although like the right committee or advisors to give their advice or their say on the specific project that's going to be done by the Chinese government, will not, they will not ask their consent. So now it is going to be finalized between that specific service public service company and then the Chinese government. You see what I mean? Now, to avoid this is why the first thing the writer advised is that involve everyone, okay? Now, in practice, such deals can be less beneficial to the country in question. Now, where one arm of the government is not clear about what another is doing, it increases the potential for corruption, what I just told you. There has been a corruption investigation in the case of the New Kenyan Railway, for example, and I have been told, he says, the writer, during my research, that this was also linked to coordination failures during the negotiation. The other thing is, you empower the negotiators. So what they do is that now, so the Chinese often adopt a take it or leave it approach. In many cases, Africans are not confrontational enough in return. They don't appreciate that China has a surplus of domestically produced material they are seeking to offload. So, for example, wiser negotiators will play China off against other countries seeking to finance infrastructure projects on the continent, such as South Korea or the United Arab Emirates. These are the countries that have the guts to confront China and say, put them out of the game. Now, keep the public on side. For example, public, it by itself has a say, so you have to listen to your public as well. And then increase knowledge. There is no knowledge about, for example, China just appear, and there's no study. This is where the African universities can play a role, and having a department of Asian studies or something that you teach your students or the generation how their business are done, how they are, China's way of going global is done. Many kinds of things you can teach in there, and perhaps also a language as well, which is really relevant in all this. Now we go and assess the implication of the Lobito corridor, which is the US and Europe, or you can just call it a G7 program of the Scramble for Africa's minerals. Okay. Let me share this article with you because this person has done his research. Now, the Lobito corridor, if you see it, one interesting thing is that, look, this picture, if you see this, it shows you now this railway passing through the jungle from DRC to Zambia, to Angola, to Tanzania. It's not really connecting people. What now? When it comes to this, actually, China beats the US because it really is considering also connecting people, connecting the region. It's really including, if in East Africa, it's very practical what China is doing, the Belt and Road Initiative. It really connects, you can say, the 500 million people, country from country, okay? Now, but the Belt and Road, the Lobito corridor of the US, it just wants in a fastest way to get to the port and ship that mineral. That is the only aim of it. So that this picture is really very symbolic. Okay. Now the other implication is that you can say why the United States is not using, for example, what China has done already in the Belt and Road in East Africa, in which you have, the 500 million people, the GDP of, it's a producer of the African GDP, most of the percentage, and why US is not focusing on this one. Now, I'm going to read this for you. Look, now this picture shows you actually from DRC to Tanzania, or even to Angola, leave DRC, from DRC to Angola, 3 countries are connected. But how many stops do you think this train will have? It have only 5 stops. And perhaps that could be for refueling or something. So it has no intention of connecting the people. Now, look, let me just read this for you from the article. To the east lies, meaning to the east of the continent, to the east lies a cluster of the most economically and infrastructurally integrated countries in Africa: Tanzania, Kenya, Rwanda, Burundi, and Uganda, even allowing for the instability in South Sudan, Ethiopia, and Somalia. East Africa commands over 1 trillion worth of GDP now, and also it has a market of exceeding 500 million people. Now, by way of comparison, in 1950, at the height of American post-war investment in Europe, the total continental population of the war-ravaged, resource-poor continent of Europe was a little over 500 million. If one were to put these chunks of data together and see a massive American rail investment case for linking Democratic Republic of Congo to the East African Railway Master Plan that is already completed in parts of Kenya, Tanzania, Ethiopia, it would seem like a no-brainer, a no-brainer to start with this one. But guess what? The US, however, is not interested. Incredibly, rather than showcase, now I'm reading from the article, incredibly, rather than the showcase called the American model of development in a relatively well-integrated and geographically advantageous African environment with an educated regional market roughly the size of Europe and almost infinite investment upside, the Americans decided to look westward and plank $10 billion on a railway through 1,300 kilometers of dense Angolan tropical rainforest. Save the grain silos and processing units along the rail route, which the project partners are eager to sell as industrial symbiosis. The route is almost entirely devoid of any kind of meaningful interaction with Africa's industrial or population centers. It's totally out of touch. Just what you see, the train in the jungle. If you were now, the article continues, if you were to place a ruler on a map and draw a line from Congo's mining hub of Kolwezi, where the line originates, to the Chinese-built port of Lobito, where it terminates on the Angola's west coast, you would have almost perfectly traced the proposed route of the Lobito corridor. So it has 1,300 kilometers, just only with 5 stops in the jungle. And just the aim is, of course, what is the aim? It's obvious. The aim is to transport Congolese minerals from the mining place to port as quickly as possible, and with a little contact with the local population as possible. This is America for you. Meet the new America, but same as the old one. So this is the implication. It's not really to, that works to the benefit of Africa. Now, my people, I leave you here and I ask you, what are the things, what advantage can take or opportunity can Africa draw out of this scramble for Africa's mineral that is spurring the revival of the railway system in the continent? As I said sarcastically, maybe this will bring the unintended value, which is connecting the continents through railway. But also, no, I mean, really, what advantage can we take? The heads of states are just signing and they don't care. And one of the things that the writers said when the writer was assessing the implication of the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative, actually most of the people in the government offices, what they were telling the writer was that, oh no, you don't negotiate with China. China comes with upper say, with the finance and everything. You don't negotiate with China. And what the government do is also where the writer suggests empower negotiators, your own negotiators, people who have knowledge on a specific project, because they have these election promises and doing this infrastructure or bringing that or building this for this. So they just want to do it. No. If China says that they will do this, no, they don't even want to look at other contractors, other countries' capacity or something. Yeah. So that is what's happening. And do not be surprised now if India comes and tries to do this. Do not be surprised now if the United Arab Emirates or Saudi Arabia or Turk comes into the continent and introduce another railway system to the country so that they can ship also the mineral, ship all the natural resources, leave the continent empty. Yeah, so question is again, what is the opportunity in this midst of challenge? Just, drop your thought in the comment section. Thank you very much for tuning in. Quick shout out, Lauren Cowell, W, Norman Richard, Lamin Saneh, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending where you are. Taking from Canada. Oh, good to know. Please share our video with your network. Are there any Africans living and working and building their business in China and in exchange? I know, for example, I can only speak on behalf of Ethiopia. Because it's just the story that I know. There are people, but the thing is, because they have import office already in their country, in Ethiopia. So what they do is they go and set up like agents or something, not really something that is producing like in the level of what the Chinese are doing. Okay, so just all agents or logistically trying to make sure or to serve also other importers in Ethiopia, so that they can be their contact person in China, and making sure their goods will arrive on the right time and right place and whatever logistical care. That's the only thing they will do, but not on a production level. Everybody gets to set up business in Africa, yet Africans have no equal setup. Yeah. For me, the thing, I wouldn't even worry about setting up a business outside of Africa, because Africa has a vast opportunity, vast, and I like vast, really, opportunity for its people. It's untapped, but they are incoming and tapping that before we do it, because we are so busy migrating outside of the continent looking for this economical opportunity in which we don't see in our own. So the thing is, yes, the finance is a problem. It could be to set up a business, but if we really learn to come together, even those of us who are outside of the continent, come up, some of us have the knowledge, some of us have the contact, some of us, there are different things that 10 of us come together and set up a manufacturing company in one of African countries. That can be done. What are we doing? But also, what you have to know is, I say this might be a cliche again and again. We are not teaching. There is no African university that is teaching the students how to mine. No one. But Europe is busy teaching their students mining. And do they have any mineral in their continent? No. To go and mine in Africa, that's why they're teaching them. We can't even do this in our own universities. So, I mean, I'm tired of finger pointing every time when something happens to, yes, they are doing some evil things with Europe or US or whatever, but what have we done? That's the question. Are we going to live in this bubble and pass it also to the next generation? Or are we ready to sacrifice? Some of us, it could be sacrifice money, sacrifice time, whatever we have and whatever we can, and do something that the next generation can take over and, and proceed. That's the question. Oh, yeah. So, if there's no intention to establish thriving economies along the rail lines, that's Lobito corridor for you. China is also building a channel to transport water from Africa under the anything can happen, we have seen how the Nigerians crude oil have been looted by these international oil companies. So do not be surprised if the China take water from Africa. Oh my God, Burkina Faso, yes, those countries, I have hope on them. Hello, Sister Patricia Cox, how are you? It has been a while. I really have to leave, otherwise this video will be long and then others will not even be encouraged to see it. But please share the video. Thank you again for tuning in. And please, comment below. What do you think of this? Give it a like if you find it informative enough. And please get real with us. Tell us what other subjects we have to bring for you, and then what are the real thoughts of you? Do you agree with me or not? In a way that that can benefit our people. And if you want to help us further, please, you can donate through our PayPal account. You can find it in the description section. But for all of you who have been donating, thank you very much. I really have to shout out for that to Sister Patricia Cox. Thank you very much for all your support. It means a lot. And I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.